Hey everybody, welcome back to White Enable Garage. Back on the 87 Jeep Cherokee. It's the 4.0 liter, and I have removed the water pump. I thought I'd turn the camera on to show you how to reinstall, or in this case replace, the water pump. Hopefully help you in your project. So let's have some fun and get this thing running again. And don't forget to diagram how your belt goes back on, because there was a lot of pulleys on this engine. My local parts store is Napa, and here's a part number, and can't get away from it, but made in China. $39 with tax, so the price is right. I hope it holds up. It is aluminum body with a steel impeller, so, and the part actually looks pretty good. Just have to make sure you transfer over your tube here. I use silicone tape here. You can use plumber's putty as well, I'm sure, but that's my choice. And the book says clean the mating surfaces with acetone. In my case, I use brake clean, probably the same thing, right? I will tell you too, that's a little confusing, but one source on the internet called All Data says to put the gasket on dry, but the Haynes manual says to use a thin coat of sealant, RTV sealant. So at this point, I guess it's up to you what you want to do. Can't see what I'm working on just yet, but I wanted to show you this. The bolts go in dry because you're not entering any water jackets, according to the book, but this bolt came out rusted, so I'm going to assume that there's at least water intrusion somehow. But anyway, I elected to put some Permatex non-hardening sealer on that top bolt. All right, water pump is sitting in place. The bolts have to be torqued. There's just 4 of them, and then you have bolts for the bracket on the power steering pump. Now the book does say to take this out. I was able to get back into a fastener. It's a 14 millimeter. Back in there, you can just see it. I was able to get to that and just move this out enough where I was able to get access. I did take advantage of cleaning up the harmonic balancer, marking the timing point, because that thing is hard to see. So take advantage of being in here and do that if you will. The mounting bolts are torqued 18 to 22 foot-pounds. So this extension tube that connects your heater hose, that's really tight to get in there. I think if I had to do this over again, I would put that clamp on first before putting on the pump. Lower radiator hose is clamped tight as well. We get these 2 bolts started, and then we'll go after the 14 millimeter that's up in there to secure it. This idler pulley has to come off because the extension tube to this heater hose is behind it, so you'll need to get that out of the way. It's 14 millimeters. I don't have a torque value to tell you the truth. Just tighten it up. The pulley gets torqued on at 20 foot-pounds, and you may elect to put the belt on first so you have some way to hold it. There we go. So that's one. But you get the idea. Now's a good time to get your belt at least started, because once you get your fan on and the shroud and the electric fan on the other side, it becomes a little difficult. So this part's a little difficult. Most people leave the fan shroud off. I actually bought it because I want original equipment as much as possible, but these 2 components have to go together so that you have room to squeeze it between the mounting bolts. Here are the studs and the radiator. Well, got a couple difficulties here. One is, of course, not to hurt your radiator. On the bottom of the shroud are just 2 tabs you have to kind of feel for. I do have my protection. There's a protector plate on the bottom. I've removed that so I can ensure that these sit in place. Once you get this fan on the studs, your clearance issues are lessened more in your favor. I'll get those tight here in a minute. And these are just secured on top by 13 millimeter. Just not a lot of room to work. What I wanted to show you is this tool here. Craftsman made these for a while. I'm not sure if they do or not now, but it's a quick release open end. It really helps to get down there to those nuts. It's a 13 millimeter fan with the pulley. I had forgot to put that on earlier, so the pulley's on now with the fan bolts tightened. Water pump pulley tightened, that's 20 foot-pounds. All the fasteners on the power steering pump are tight, and adjusted. A belt tension, you know, that's just, they say tight. Don't over tighten it because you'll ruin the bearings on your pulleys. It's kind of a judgment call there. Anyway, I think we're ready to start it. The electric fans are back in. It's just 2 bolts on top. Connector, of course, same 2 tabs you saw on this fairing. Connect down at the bottom. This Jeep has what they call a closed system. There is no radiator cap, so you have to fill it from this reservoir. 50-50 mix, and use distilled water. There's no contaminants in distilled water as there is in like water from a tap. And this will help keep your system operational for a long time. The problem I had initially, and the reason I changed the pump, was this hose here had a continuous leak. Well, I changed the hose, a new clamp, and it still leaked. So the leak was coming from behind the pump there. And now it's perfectly dry. I put just a couple miles on it for a test drive, and it looks good. Yeah, I feel kind of bad I wasn't able to get a lot of camera angle that would include some of the fasteners to get to, but here's the final completed job. Everything's clean and tidy, no leaks. The belt's nice and quiet. Alright, that's it. We are done. It took me about an hour and 15 minutes to tear everything down, water pump off, and then probably 30 minutes to clean everything up. And then installation of the new pump was about 2 hours because I was obviously with the camera slowing down a little bit. But I like that part of being a DIY guy is because you can slow down and clean and inspect parts. I spent a little extra time cleaning my pulleys, making sure that everything was in line, and doing some extra cleaning. So anyway, all right guys, I'll let you go, and we'll see you in the next video.